Okay, welcome. This is FactoryIQ team, myself and Peter, and we're going to be discussing FactoryIQ and the Smart Factory Made Simple, and we're going to go through sort of like what problem FactoryIQ, and in particular the digital manufacturing side of FactoryIQ, what it solves for businesses, and also some of the challenges that we've had with some of our customers and the resolution we've gone into those. So for me, FactoryIQ, it was born out of, as people are probably aware, out of my head of years back of using different spreadsheets, and then enhanced massively with what Peter has done with extracting everything out and the team there, and bridging that gap between this my thoughts and also having something of real high functionality but low costs for SMEs to enter into this digital manufacturing software without it breaking the bank. I mean, I don't know if you've got anything to add on that, Peter, at all, but that's where it originated from my side, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that's the philosophy that we've always used as an organisation. We're a company 4C Software, and we've worked with Adams TCM UK to develop this. And our niche market is the low cost, simple to use products, but with high functionality. So that's what we've developed here. And obviously that's become more pertinent with increasing cost of living and so on. And the need for being able to identify issues with productivity and improve productivity. And FactoryIQ can really help with that. Talking to SMEs recently, there are grants out there for this kind of system, but often those grants depend on creating new jobs and so on. And the problem that a lot of us organisations have is we can't actually get the skilled staff that we need. We need to be able to produce more with what we've got, both in terms of staff and resources. And FactoryIQ actually slots very nicely into that scenario.
Yeah, and I think this is where, from the problems and the challenges I've had throughout my career, this is where this solution came about. Is that being able to have a clear, concise way of communicating what we're doing on the shop floor, what our production planning is, being able to smooth out and get rid of the conflicts, but being able to still communicate with in between the teams, from the lower level all the way up and from the top all the way back down again as well. So it's having that optimized production schedule, because what I found, and no disrespect to anybody, but in being saying that is going to sound as though being disrespectful for the software, is MRP, ERP and things, those sort of ilks never really had the ultimate in production scheduling, in my opinion. And this is where I wanted to really focus on that operations management style, and then mixing in all these other elements of the Edge Essentials, machine monitoring, and also the digital Internet of Things, and being able to really progress stuff as well. And this can be for any company at any different stage. And I know, Peter, you're going to talk around this. So any business is on a digital journey, be it small or large, this is where it comes in. And Peter, from your side, if you had nothing at all, where's it stand?
Yeah, exactly. So we've worked with companies that have got full-scale MRPs but don't have scheduling, or have looked to have scheduling, and they will talk to their MRP provider and get quoted silly money to have a scheduling system created for them, right down to organisations that are still based on pen and paper job cards. They've not had the confidence or the in-house skills to be able to invest and start that digitalisation journey. And we can work right with the very basics with that, through to companies that might have Excel spreadsheets. So they might have data in there and they've got problems sharing that data and the spreadsheet getting out of date. You have access to a copy of that spreadsheet on the shop floor. Everybody's accessing it. It's getting out of date. They might start emailing copies to each other and so on. And you need that one central database. So it will plug into a system like that, right through to, as I say, companies that have got an MRP, and we will build a connector to that. So SAP Business One, for instance, we will create a connector, extract all your job information from there. And, on the day of installation, we can be providing you with an automatically generated optimized schedule for your organization. Staff can access that, operators on the ground, production managers, quality managers can all see, salespeople, they can see where jobs are, how far they've got through the production process, and when they're due to be ready based on things like machines going down, material availability and so on. So FactoryIQ pulls all that information in and provides a very simple to use interface for staff to then manage the jobs through the factory.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things for me around this within the operation side was being able to see this relatively quickly as well, which is one of the beauties, that's one of the enhancements that has come about within FactoryIQ of the and-on style of being able to see just one screen and understanding the status of what's going through any particular area, asset, or actually the factory itself as well. And then that mixed in with getting into maintenance alerts, if a machine goes down, which we can set timers for, that emails or text message to go out to key personnel that this machine's going down or has been down for a certain period of time. So we can go look and see around that. So just in general, from a digital manufacturing point of view, it's these sort of things that are going to enable the SME base, the manufacturing SME base, to really shift focus. And that's general from a digital manufacturing point of view and an internet things point of view. I don't know whether there's anything you want to add to that, Peter, before we move on.
No, probably just to give a bit of a flavour of how it is, we could maybe share some screens and some of the functionality.
Yeah, do you want to go through the challenges as we go through, or do you just want to share some of the screens first?
I think we'll share some of the screens, and then we'll talk about while we're doing that some of the challenges that we've then faced once customers have started using this. So here's the home screen when you start the system. So it gives you a quick overview of what the status is of all the jobs in your system. So we can see here there are 222 jobs that are active at the moment. 76 of them are already overdue. They have all been scheduled. 85 of them are in progress. And then we've got this concept of stalled. So that means that a job has finished a particular task within its production cycle, but it hasn't gone on to another task. So it might have finished in turning, for instance, and it should be in honing, and it's not got to honing yet. And you can set a parameter on that. So you can say, right, what's the definition of stalled? It might be that a job hasn't moved for a day. It might be that a job hasn't moved for 5 days. So the system's completely configurable. But this gives you a very quick picture of how things are doing across your organization. We've also got some OTIF data there, because we know whether a job is completed in full, and we know when it's completed, and we know the due date for that. So we can use all that data to provide OTIF information. Scrolling down the screen, we've got a quick overview of what's overdue, what's overrunning, what is ready to start. And then you can group all the resources, all your work centers, into different areas and see how much capacity you've got in those areas. So it's all very graphical, seeing that information. And from that information, from your MRP, or entered directly into FactoryIQ, we develop this schedule. So this is a visual representation of what's going through your factory. So here we have most jobs start with a prepare tooling operation. So that enables that somebody can, when they start the job, will make sure that they've got all the tools and materials ready to start the job. And not until they've done that will they release the job then into the next parts of the operation. So here we have some turning centers, and we can see the jobs that are running through there. And then you can start to see where there might be gaps in the system. So you think, well, okay, is there some work we can be getting in that could fill these gaps in our capacity? Also, you can see where capacity is being overstretched. So we've got 4 different jobs overrunning actually on that machine. What would happen if that machine broke down? It starts to raise those questions just looking at this straight away. And some companies have a real revelation when they first see this, because they've been using spreadsheet or pen and paper to manage their schedule. In their heads, everything's going fine. Orders are coming in, jobs are going out, it's all getting invoiced, everything's hunky-dory. And it's not until they see this that they realize, oh, actually, we've got a whole load of work stacked up on these particular resources. We could easily justify getting another one of these machines. Also, in terms of staff training, Are we able to cover for that machine if the person that normally operates it, if they're away? So it raises all sorts of questions like that. As we scroll down, there are about 70 machines we've got in this particular setup here. So it's working out the optimum path through the factory for those 200 jobs across those machines. It takes into account the due date, it takes into account what's needed by each of those jobs, and from that, the algorithms then determine the best route through the factory for those jobs to be ready. And then we can start to look, that's just looking at a very local picture of just the current 3 days. We can then go to a 10-day view, and we can go forward then day by day, week by week, and we can start to see when jobs are due to be finished. So we know when their actual due date is in terms of customer, but we know when they're going to be ready in terms of actual production. So this is there from a management point of view. Production managers, senior leaders can see this kind of information. As an operator, this is the kind of screen that they might see for their particular machine. They can start and stop jobs, so they can see what jobs are upcoming. And Adam, you're talking about the fact that, you know, what customer challenges have we come across and what have we solved? One of the things we found was, yeah, it's great to have an ideal schedule, but that doesn't necessarily map to what might be happening that day on the ground at that work centre. And it may be that it will make more sense, given the particular materials involved or the type of setup that's needed for a particular set of jobs, to just shuffle those jobs. So we've got a few jobs here that are all ready to start. So their previous operations have all been done. They're ready to start on this machine. And the production manager can fine tune the ordering of these tasks on the day. So it's like a daily work to list. Everybody sees that same list. So if you make any changes to it, it's reflected across the whole organization. Everybody knows what job needs to be coming up next on that resource. Operators can then, when they're ready, they click start. That starts the job, and we all know that that job is then in progress. If they hit a problem, so there might be a problem with the machine, they might be called away to a meeting or whatever, they can then stop the task, and we record the fact that that task is stopped, and that machine is stalled at the moment, and we can set alerts from that to let other people know there's an issue. But we can also feed that information into things like OE analysis and looking back for root cause analysis as well. So if there's particular things that are often happening to a particular machine or a particular type of job, we can pick up those trends. It's a very easy interface for them to use to do that. Another customer challenge we came across were in environments where people needed to, we were wearing PPE, so they might have big gloves that they've got to wear. So in those cases, rather than a more detailed screen like this, we've gone for a really simple screen, which looks like, go to the right tab. Here we go. So that's the same resource, Citizen A32. And here we very simply, we can start jobs and we can bring jobs back in. So as soon as I've done this job, okay, I'm happy with that. Complete task. And that updates the system. There you are, it's disappeared from that list. And everybody in the organization can see that job is now done and it's ready to move on to the next operation in the organization. What we can also monitor is, and one of the other challenges we found was, yeah, that's great if operators are starting and stopping jobs, but what is actually physically happening with the machine? Is it running when it should be running? And we've developed some very low cost devices that can attach to any machine. It just takes it detects the current. So it might be a spindle feed if it's a lathe, or it might be an on-off feed for, so one of the companies we've got has got a water jet. So we pick up from the solenoid for the water jet when that's running. And then we can start to see when those machines are actually running. And you would expect if a machine is stacked out with work, that should be active all the time. And there we can see graphs over time. So that's today, how those machines are running. Let's have a look at this month. So, you know, very busy at the beginning of the month, not so busy now. Why is that? You know, all these things should be raising questions to a production manager as to why we're seeing this kind of profile. What can we do to increase the utilization of that machine? But we can also map it back to the actual job. So when I go back to the schedule page, you'll see, let's just scroll back a little bit. these little green blocks are where those machines are active. And what you would expect to see where, and this company doesn't have sensors on all their machines, but this machine here, we've got a big job running. And yes, most of the time that has been running, but it looks here like we've got a bit of downtime on that machine and it's not been reported. Again, the system can pick that up and it can let key people know that we've got a job that should be active on that machine, but physically the machine isn't active at the moment. And that's actually been raised as an and-on light on that machine. And you could actually physically fit an and-on light to the machines as well. And FactoryIQ will drive that in your factory. Just going back to operators as well, the screens that they see. You can associate documents with every element of the system. This is another thing that we found. Organisations have started to use this. It would be great if we can actually have the drawings for that job available for the operator to hand where they're actually using the machine. And that there's one version of that document. We know what the latest one is. We can change that and it's the same for everyone. So you can associate drawings, health and safety instructions, any kind of document can be associated with a job, with a resource, with an individual task within a job. So it's a document management system as well. You've got this central repository with a common source for all of this information. So it starts to tie up, you're starting to get that paperless environment as well. So there's lots of things that are actually very simple, but they really progress you along that digitalization journey. Even if you've got nothing at the moment, very quickly you can be set up with something like this where you're creating your jobs, you've got your jobs in the system. For your regular work as well, you can copy those jobs. So having got a particular product in there, you can keep repeat jobs from that without having to create it again. You've got that central document store. And then as you move on, if you want to get a full-blown ERP or MRP, this can then be adapted to connect to that. So
the other aspect of this is one of the areas that I had in previously in different roles from an operations point of view is failure in some of the audits around having uncontrolled documents and standard works from a quality management system point of view. So this is where we wanted to try and be able to get this central area that is then controlled. You've got complete control over it because it is paperless and it is digital. It needs to be in this one repository, and quality can then manage that area. So you've got complete control over it. And access to it, and an up issue or up level. So there should never be any out control documents. Got no need to print them out. Everything is live. The same with the links as well. And that is digital manufacture. That's what it should be about in my eyes as well. Sorry, Peter, I interrupted you there.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it, really, in terms of the system. You know, I don't want to overcomplicate it. I can't overcomplicate it. It's a straightforward system. That is it in a nutshell. And hopefully you can all see how easy that is to use, certainly from an operator's point of view. And especially if you're just wanting to see the start and stop of jobs, being able to just have a list like that. So let's just go back and say we're interested somewhere else in the grinding section.
Okay, I mean, this one was born out of an issue, a challenge that one of the customers are saying around the associates being able to, with gloves and just being able to touch and not go into this very fine moment, or using a desktop, just be able to go shift with a finger and do the work that's needed. Dead easy, dead simple.
It's a bit like an electronic Kanban board. I know an organisation I went into. And before they started using this, what they had were physical Kanban boards between each area. And the production manager would walk into an area, he'd look at the Kanban board, take a mental photograph of that, go across into the next area and try and remember which things were coming out of one area and going into the next area. And immediately this saved him a huge headache in that it was live. He could see it, he could just get his phone out, tablet out, whatever, and see what was coming out of one area going into the next area without having to physically look at boards. Something else, actually, sorry, I wanted to show Adam. And this again was in response to a customer request. And these are overhead screens that they've got in their work areas, so that you can see, so that everybody can see what the status is of all the jobs on the machines in their area. And these cycle round once a minute, showing all of the different resources in a particular area. And that can be customized, per machine.
Yeah, and this customer's got the number of these screens strategically positioned on the shop to enable the team on the shop floor to see what's currently happening. So I got that. I was just coming on to that shop floor communication and the screenshots. The other side of this as well is that we have obviously the reporting side, so the KPIs and then bespoke reporting. And again, this has come out as part of some of the challenges and issues. So we've actually created, I don't know whether you've got the screen or can access it quick, Peter, where we've got the screen of reports.
Yeah. So all these reports are bespoke, and this is something that we will work with you as an organisation. So we talked at the beginning about this concept of stalled jobs. So what this particular organisation wanted was a report that would list all of the jobs that have stalled, all the jobs that have had stoppages on them. So it's where somebody has recorded that there is a problem with it, what the actual time that a job started versus its planned start time. So again, they can look to see any trends that are in there. And we can just keep adding to this list of reports. And these reports can either be shared amongst all of our customers, or if you've got things that you want that are specific to you, we can make it just available on your particular version of this. And we can create those ad hoc. So, just send us an email and say, oh, can you let us know, for instance, all the jobs from a particular supplier that have been more than 10 days late, or for a particular customer that have been more than 15 days late or whatever, and we can produce those reports. And then we're building a library of KPIs. So this one is one for OTIF. And here what you want to do is then start to correlate your on time in full with the actual production, with the utilization of your machines. And what you should start to see is a pattern there. So this is all that, we had an increase towards at the beginning of the year. Now it started to drop off. Why is that? And what we could do is overlay the utilization on there. And what you would find is probably the utilization of your machines has dropped. And you would need to see, is it a staffing issue? Is it a shortage of materials? This raises the questions that you as a production manager need to answer to keep this on the right trajectory. Get my teeth in.
And the OEE will help on this as well with tracking the OEE within FactoryIQ as well. So the KPIs again tailored to each individual business and what they need. And I think these can be emailed out at certain reports at the end of the day. If
they can,
things are becoming urgent or there is information that is needed, they can be automatically emailed out at a given point or a given day and time.
And as Adam mentioned before, we've got these automated alerts as well. So, and again, they're completely bespoke to each organisation. So if there's certain criteria that you need to know about, so things being stored for a particular amount of time, jobs that are coming up to be at risk of being overdue or overdue by a certain amount of time, the system will automatically send emails or text alerts to you to let you know about that. And because it's all web-based, it's all in the cloud, you don't have to host a server, you don't need anything on site, you literally go to our secure website, you view it from there, and it can be viewed anywhere in the world. So with things like COVID, when people were having to work from home, it wasn't a problem. Those that are having to manage production, they got a full handle of what was happening on the factory from wherever.
I'll take that off screen now because I think we've done that. That is some of the challenges and a quick run through around it. But this for me is what digital manufacturing should be getting into. Obviously we've got FactoryIQ and we're biased towards that, but it is about having this data and being able to make informed decisions at the touch of a button, or it's automatically put in front of you to prompt you. And you need to be questioning and challenged. So it's all about the data and utilizing the data to make those informed decisions. For me, I think some of the best stuff out of this was the algorithm, which is very unique. I think it's one of the, if not the best from a scheduling point of view that I know of. because of the challenges that I had, and Peter has solved that. But also just from the being able to see within 30 seconds, well, it's quicker than that, what the status is. Am I red, amber, or green? And what do I need to do? And if I'm red, I can drill down and find out what's happening. And that's what you're after. With digital manufacturing, it becomes a lot slicker and a lot easier. And FactoryIQ does that without a shadow of a doubt. I don't know whether you got anything to add, Peter, on that.
Yeah, that's me.
No.
Really?
Yeah, no. So thank you very much for joining us. And
Thanks for your time.
Yeah, if you want to know anything about this, then visit factory-iq.co.uk. Excuse me, get in touch with us, DM us or anything like that. If you want to know more, please do contact us. Thank you very much and have a great rest of the week.
Yeah, thanks for your time.